Hello. Definitely tough acts to follow. So part of me slightly worried. This is going to be a little bit about how much Kevin's cocked up and done things a bit wrong. So we'll see how we go. As mentioned, head of Group Resourcing at LV. I'm really passionate about employer brand, employee value proposition, but that's just a small part of my role. I could probably do this and talk about it forever, so get ready with a shepherd's crook to take me off. Firstly, I've got probably two apologies, which is a little bit awkward for an event like this. The first one is I'm really crap at PowerPoint, so excuse the awkward click-throughs. The screens aren't that big, so if there's stuff there that doesn't make sense, just believe it's amazing. And the really important piece is LV, I don't work for Louis Vuitton. So unfortunately, I have had in the past someone who's disappointingly come up to me at the end and said, "Do you know what? I really was disappointed it wasn't Louis Vuitton." So it's LV. My team could probably recruit for Louis Vuitton, the number of calls and disappointed people that contact us. But we like to sort of bounce off that brand. So LV Financial Services, some of you may or may not have heard of us. Significant growth over the last 5 or 6 years. So we do a mix of life insurance, which bizarrely enough is represented by the people camping. So I'm not quite sure where the marketing guys got that from, but that's great for life insurance. Car, we are the one of the top 2 motor insurance companies in the UK. 8 out of every 10 London cabs is insured by us, so you're in safe hands. And also we have a road rescue business, and we do all the other usual bits and pieces such as pet and travel and all those wonderful things. Really resonated with me a couple of the bits that the guys talk about, the human capital and the human side of business. One of the visions for LV is to humanise insurance. So we really empower our customer service reps to make a claims decision based on the right thing. Not making money, not charging people to change their address, but actually if it's the right thing to do. So one example is when we had the volcanic ash crisis. We were the first insurer to just pay up and go, "Do you know what? Bad luck." So we paid for it. So we really resonate with that human capital piece. Our journey then, just to give you an idea about where we've gone in terms of the employer branding and what we've done from a recruitment perspective, but also from an organisational one. But really looking at the growth story from back in 2008, so we're about 1,800 people, pretty much ready to close the door. I live 15 minutes from the office, didn't want to work there, it was crap. No one wanted to work there. Thank God I actually went for the interview, saw the big green heart and thought, why not? And that is the power of going, do you know what, things might change here. So that's through to today. We've got 6,000 people across the UK, about 24 offices. And from a recruitment perspective, we started off with about 82% of our roles being delivered by headhunter and agency. So over the year, we have leveraged the brand, built a recruitment proposition to deliver 96% of our roles direct today, which we're tremendously proud of, but we're not perfect by any means. So that's something that I'm always very humble about. So just wanted to link into some of the stuff that was said earlier about whether an engaged workforce is important. If you take a look at the survey here, the engagement survey, so I do absolutely resonate with the point in the survey, but this is the engagement survey we do, and you can see back in 2007, so you've got the green line right at the bottom, pretty disengaged workforce, to we absolutely, everything we do is about our people, our values, and embedding that culture. And that has really resonated in their engagement results, people's willingness to complete the engaged survey, but actually really wanting to be part of LV and be brand ambassadors, which is absolutely critical to us. So I changed the title because I actually know it says a practitioner's view, and I'm like, do you know what? I'm just working with employer brand. I'm not an expert. I've been learning. When I come to these conferences, I'm sure you don't want to sit there watching Kevin going, "Look at how we've done the employer brand. Boom! Isn't it amazing?" You want to see the cock-ups, and you want to see the things that actually might not have gone well so you may be able to learn from that. So I've picked out 10 important and awkward moments that hopefully might demonstrate the journey we've been on. So I'm kind of sort of exposing the underbelly a bit here, but hopefully it will be useful and link in with some of the stuff that was talked about earlier. So I think the first really important piece, and again we've touched on it this morning, is what is employer brand? Because when we started off, yes, we knew it's about whether people wanted to work for us or not, but we spent a lot of time developing the visuals, what it looked like, what it felt like, what's the bus stop like, is it shiny, does the website look great? Actually, the employer brand is what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. So I'm just going to disappear for 5 minutes and talk about yourself. But it is. So we think we've got a great culture. We're not absolutely perfect, but you can have the best website you like. If you've got a crap recruitment process, if the culture's poor, it will be that revolving door policy. So I think the first thing for me is just really thinking about what the employer brand is and actually what people are saying about you. Glassdoor's a classic one. Very similar to the TripAdvisor mentality. Things are starting to change, and the conversation is happening on Glassdoor and other mediums, whether you like it or not. So you need to choose to engage in that conversation. So this particular one, 5-star review, feels like family. That's great, because one of our core values is make people feel like family, or treat people like family, which could be taken either way depending on your family, to be fair. We do have a few awkward moments with that one, I have to say. I had to choose which one to put here because there are a few awkward ones on there, so go and have a look if you like. But management are underhand and bullies. And actually, for someone in my role, but actually as a human working for that company, oh my God, that's terrible. That feels really bad. So it's actually, what are we doing about this? So going back to the conversation about calling out poor behaviour, I can't stand here and say we've got fantastic leaders in the whole of LV. There are a few exactly like that, bring the money in, but actually are they destroying the culture? And that's something as a function that we're doing a lot of work to do to actually start really, really starting to make performance management about how you behave, not just how your performance is. Employee value proposition, which is the buzzword and I think the corporate B-Day piece, but the foundation for your employer brand. What is that promise that you are giving to a prospective candidate, and what is it that you're requiring from them? We rode on this one for about 5 years. You'll be sharp with a heart and we'll give you a job that you'll love. So remember, employee value proposition is not something that you plaster on your external advertising. It's the underlining messaging and theming that you're using to talk about your brand, how you engage with your candidates. I mean, what the hell does that mean? So the sharp with the heart piece is to make people perform like a PLC, because LV is a mutual. And the heart piece is to bring out that mutuality and the human side. Give you a job that you'll love. I mean, didn't quite work. So if you haven't got the foundations of your employer branding there and the messaging there, how can you actually move forward? So we're going through a very long process where I know that what resonates for one of our customer service representatives is very different to a senior finance professional or an HR professional. So the employee value proposition needs to be real. It needs to be what your people feel it is, not what we say it's going to be on the website. So we've done a number of interviews with senior leaders. We did a massive questionnaire out to 20% of our people to actually test the themes. Is the reality of working here what we think it is? So we can start to develop that proposition. The output of that is an overarching EVP statement, which, let's face it, you could make a cottage industry out. The exec love it, love debating about the words. Should we have sharp? Should we use family? Should it be community? So slightly losing the will to live with that. But it's fundamentally important that when my recruiters are pulling adverts together, when they're talking to people, we understand what it is we're connecting with and actually why they might want to choose LV versus some of our competitors. I won't read it out. This is the latest iteration, which is going round and round about, special place to work, diverse team. Let's get that word in there because that's the usual bits and pieces we like to put in. But bottom line is, we are looking to make this statement absolutely resonate within the entire organisation, not just HR, not just my team, but the whole of the organisation from Exco downward. So they are fully engaged in this process. Trying to get them to understand what EVP is just a nightmare. So a word to the wise on that one, do your research and do your pitching. Finance directors like, give me the numbers. Not quite about that. So using your brand and the employee value proposition to improve your recruitment. So at LV, I think we do the recruitment piece pretty okay. We advertise roles, people apply, we might approach a few people on LinkedIn, that's great, and we onboard them. But actually, one of the things that a lot of organisations forget is true talent acquisition is around understanding what your value proposition is, having an employer brand that you can leverage it and understand. It is not a tick box exercise. So unfortunately, and we've done that, it's on the 2012 plan, but we'll pick that up again in 2015 and see where the brand's taken us. It's got to be living, and it's got to, it's got to be there all the time in terms of the strategy and everything that you do. So a lot of teams choose to call themselves talent acquisition teams because we recruit and it's talent, and therefore that sounds more sexy than recruitment. I've been quite tough in terms of our approach, and my team is we will not badge ourselves that until we can truly prove to the business we understand the value proposition, we can leverage the brand, and we can prove we've got those pipelines coming through. So it's something that we're really pushing for as a team and as an organisation. The other classic one, who owns employer brand? So definitely in my early days, I thought it was me. I was working really hard, pulling together the bus stops. But actually, you'll get much, much more impact if the whole organisation owns it. So I always joke, and I think it was in the article that Mary wrote, I always say to people, I've got 6,000 people in the recruitment team, because you should have the entire company being an ambassador for your company. Consistency for how your employer brand is articulated. And it wasn't until I pulled these slides together that I realised how bad what we had was, and actually used the same slide to talk to Exco about it as well. So slightly embarrassed by some of this. So we think we're really, really consistent with our flashy website with the awkward Big Brother chair, which is gone in the bin to be replaced shortly, with our bus adverts, our social media, our ATS. Let's look at the reality. So we've got buses and petrol pumps where LV product brand has changed to include a sexy new blue stripe, so a lot of money to get the blue stripe in. So I better not have a bus that's off-brand, but I haven't redeveloped the employee brand, so let's just get that out there now. So there's a little bit of awkwardness travelling around Bournemouth and Bristol. Let's take people through to the 2012 website. So people tell us it's great. Do you know what? For me, it makes me cringe slightly, but 2012, this is my favourite bit. You can see it without me telling you what it is. So this is us going, we're going to do online offers, so we won't refresh the offer pack. That's from 2009, and the CEO has got a full head of hair. And actually, it just really, really smacks of just being completely unjoined up. And whilst we do question new starters, if people join my team, like, what do you really think about that? Oh, yeah, it's okay. I mean, there's only so many poses you can get for someone holding a bloody heart, for God's sake. And here we have my favourite one, which is even just being nice and siloed in your own HR function, where the reward team go and create a brand new brand of their very own for the pension booklet, which to your people looks like you trying to flog them life insurance when they join. They'll love it. And here's another one. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. Internal comms, we're doing a bit of a workmates referral piece. Can you spot talent? Grab yourself 40 ponies. We've got ponies trotting round on the posters. And whilst, do you know what? Yes, it caused some great engagement, and your employer brand has got to be fun. But you look at that and you just think, yeah, we're not being too consistent. So that feels really basic. And I'd really, next time we do it, it's going to be totally refreshed through. So engagement, when you're developing or building your employer brand, is absolutely critical. When we launched to get our people involved in the brand, we came up with the concept of Faces of LV. And we put acetate mirrors in the bathrooms saying, hello gorgeous, hello handsome, very Virgin-esque. I'm not sure if that was a bit too far for us. And we sent around photo booths to all of our sites just for people to get engaged and to submit themselves to become the face of LV. But actually, that wasn't what it was all about. It was about bringing our people together, posing in silly costumes, and having a great time having photos taken. Yes, we got some faces out of it, but the engagement on that was huge. And the Faces of LV communication is still, to this date, the most successful internal communication we've ever done. So it just goes to show you how much impact that kind of stuff can have. Mistake on that one, we didn't do anything with it. Picked the faces, took the photos, did the website, thanks very much, gave them a mug. Did we really start to get the best out of our brand ambassadors and actually keep the organisation really interested in what we're doing? Going back to performance management, if you're using people in your employer branding articulation, you will no doubt use your HR system to find out who's performing and who's not performing, because that would be really bad to put an underperformer on a billboard. We did it. And because, funnily enough, line managers don't put the real rating in the HR system. So, and it wasn't that guy, just to be clear, who was underperforming. I was using that example. But unfortunately, you know, this guy got fired in a really big styly. So a lot of photoshopping and awkwardness to remove him from the posters. So it was, yeah, not good. Go back to social media. So when the guys were having their photos taken, we were like, oh, you know, don't put the photo shoot on Facebook. 'Cause don't want people to see it until we launch it. Oh my God, get it out there. Show how you're involving your people. You know, this is not about a great big marketing launch. Going back to what was said earlier, the employer brand is just an expression of a product brand. It's the same thing. So this time what we're doing is we're using our interactive intranet, so we've moved a little bit more digital, to engage our people and get people involved, using our video boards, getting people to want to get photographed. Again, engagement. I'm so passionate about this because we've got it wrong so many times, but we've done some great stuff. We decided when we had everyone applying for all of our photos to be the face of LV, what I did forget is, okay, I'm picking about 40 of these initially. How am I just disengaging the hundreds that have put themselves forward? How do I just not get away with pissing people off because they're not on a bus stop? So we pulled all of the photos together on every site and actually made them a huge montage on the reception or an area of the business that made people still part of it. We created magazine articles, we got people talking about it, and they loved it. They changed their Facebook photos and all those pieces, and used the awkward Big Brother chair to interview people and find out what it was like to work at LV. This is something that I think is particularly interesting in terms of how you engage people that leave you. Have you really thought about starting to reconnect the people that disappear in that employee journey? So all of our high performers, after 6 months, will send you a missing you postcard where the grass is not always greener. It's not a job offer, it's an olive branch to say to people, do you know what, we really rated you, and actually if you'd like to come back, that's something we'd entertain. That is so powerful, and we have had people that have returned. They don't come back with a postcard and go, excuse me, can I have a job? But it does show them that we're willing to entertain that conversation. This is my favourite, and the small screens may not show this so much, but going back to the brand experience, how your recruiters talk to your people, what is displayed on there. Have you applied for a job at your own company? Because I did it a few months ago and I was like, oh, that's not so good. But what do your candidates see? So Rachel in my team let me share this with me, bless her. She had an email from someone saying, Rachel, you might want to change your spacing on your LinkedIn profile because it seems you're always away from your desk. So what it says here is, Rachel, in-house recruiter at LV, specialising in general insurance, always on the loo. And well, she had a great deal of hilarity, and I hope that would bring a bit of humour. Rachel was absolutely mortified, and it was an external person that pointed it out. So after we picked ourselves off the floor laughing and had a good giggle, that is something just to really think about, and I'm not sure how many people have that screenshot and have taken that on, but thanks to Rachel for letting me embarrass her on that one. The other piece about employer brand and the commerciality about what we do, how we treat and how we handle candidates. Going back to the employer brand is the brand, we have about 30,000 people applying to LV every year. That's not a huge amount on the grand scheme. So let's say we're disengaging about 28,000 who don't get jobs with us. How many of those will cancel their car insurance or not buy a product with us because of the experience that we've given them? And I'd urge you all to do a little bit of high-level thinking of what the cost is of giving someone a really bad experience. And I know a lot of other top brands, Virgin, Atlantic, are doing it. They have huge, huge application levels. But actually, what I'm really interested in, because we do have the anecdotal piece, you didn't pay our insurance claims, so I'm not turning up to an interview, or someone that will cancel their insurance because they didn't get the job. And I get it. But actually, it's the same thing. Are we treating our candidates like our customers? Lastly, building and leveraging the brand. So you can start to see the new LV employer brand starting to grow. Never use stock photography like this, because everyone gets stuck in it. Oh, who's that? Where does he work? Or you seriously do get that. Or it looks a bit M&S, or it looks a bit this. It doesn't feel LV. So do you know what? Just don't do that, because go around to one of your sites and take some natural photos of what it's really like to work at the organisation and present them with the same bloody thing. Love it. That's great. Really resonates. So just think about the photograph and the photography if you're doing some stuff like that. We're not looking to do 48 sheet billboards, by the way. We have a couple of strategic ones for our competitors, but apart from that, we don't look to do it. But how do you really get the authenticity out there? So it's not about the look, the feel that I've talked a bit there, but actually what real people are thinking and saying about you. So social media is a really great place for people to talk about what the reality is of what it's like to work there. Going back to something that was talked about earlier, the LGBT piece. So Debbie, a very brave individual who went through her transition with LV, fully supportive through us. And she felt so passionately about how great the company had been. She wanted to tell her story. So she did that, and we put a blog out, tremendously proud of it, and so was Debbie. And on the day that went out, we had a transgender individual coming to interview, and they mentioned it in their interview about how much more comfortable they felt about walking in that door, knowing our attitude to the diversity piece. So I think some of that can be really powerful, because the website can say it's bloody amazing, but if someone says it's crap, then you're more likely to believe someone who's working there. So that's something you have to put a tremendous amount of stock in. Thank you.